Welcome to Gender Chronicles. Join us as we untangle the complex weave of gender dynamics. We help you navigate the intricate relations between the sexes with confidence and wisdom. Today, we are taking you through an excursion into the idea of a gynocentric society. If you have followed the manosphere discourse long enough, you have likely heard the manosphere proponents mention the idea of a gynocentric society. You may have heard them say, "We live in a gynocentric society." What do they mean? You probably have a good grasp of what it is. Nonetheless, let's delve into it and explore its significance. First, what do we mean when we say something is gynocentric? Gynocentric is a perspective, an approach, or a system that prioritizes women's interests, experiences, and needs, often placing them at the center of societal, cultural, or institutional considerations. This term is frequently used in contrast to androcentric, which centers on men's experiences and perspectives. In sociological and critical discourse, gynocentrism is often discussed in relation to frameworks or policies perceived as disproportionately favoring women, such as specific legal protections or social programs. Gender relations with an emphasis on women's roles and experiences in discussions about family, workplace dynamics, and societal responsibilities, sometimes to the exclusion of men's perspectives. Media, literature, or academic narratives highlighting women's struggles and achievements as central to societal progress, while downplaying or omitting equivalent male experiences. For instance, it can be argued that the Democratic Party in the United States is a gynocentric organization because it centers on women's interests above anything else. We saw this during the campaign when Democratic surrogates and pundits told men to vote for the Democratic ticket for the sake of women's rights. On the one hand, the Democrats said to the men, "Think about your daughters, about your sisters, about your mothers, about your wives, and your female friends and neighbors." On the other hand, they did not say to the women, "Think about your sons, your brothers, your fathers, your husbands, your male friends and neighbors." On the one hand, sacrifice was not simply expected from men, but demanded. On the other hand, women were expected and encouraged to vote exclusively for their own interests. You may have heard manosphere proponents say, "A woman does what she does so that she can be happy, a man does what he does so that she can be happy. The money a woman makes belongs to her alone. The money her husband makes belongs to the family, especially her. We are told happy wife, happy life." To varying degrees, these statements are a testament to society's gynocentricity. Those who use the term gynocentric often do so to critique perceived imbalances in gender-focused discussions, particularly when men's issues, such as mental health, educational disparities, or legal disadvantages in family law, are overshadowed by those affecting women. For example, in men's rights discourses, gynocentrism is sometimes cited as a bias that marginalizes male perspectives in favor of feminist or woman-centered priorities. However, critics of the term argue that labeling policies or cultural shifts as gynocentric can oversimplify complex gender dynamics or dismiss necessary efforts to address historical and ongoing inequalities faced by women. The concept is thus highly contested, with its use often depending on ideological perspectives on gender and societal roles. Gynocentric refers to a worldview, ideology, or social system centered around women, their experiences, perspectives, and needs. It places women and femininity at the focal point of social, cultural, or institutional values. It often seeks to highlight or prioritize the concerns and interests of women over others, particularly men. For instance, taxpayer-funded shelters for women but not for men, education system designed and operated in congruence to girls' characteristics but not in congruence to boys' characteristics, health systems designed and operated to serve the needs of women but not the needs of men, family laws and legal systems designed to serve the interests of women but not the interests of men. Believe all women. Men are guilty by nature until proven innocent. The burden of proof of innocence is placed on the accused man, thus subverting the quintessential legal principle of innocence till proven guilty, the assumptions of female innocence and moral superiority, while men are assumed to be naturally and morally suspect. In sociological or feminist discourse, the term is sometimes used to critique perceived societal shifts that emphasize women's roles and voices while allegedly marginalizing or undervaluing those of men. However, proponents of gender equity might view the term differently, interpreting it as an acknowledgement of the historically marginalized status of women and a corrective to patriarchal systems that have traditionally been androcentric, male-centered. The interpretation of gynocentrism often depends on the ideological framework of the speaker or writer. In cultural or historical analysis, it is occasionally invoked to describe matrifocal societies or cultural narratives that elevate motherhood, femininity, or women's experiences as central to communal or societal identity. The term gynocentric is derived from two components. Greek roots gyno, from the Greek word gyne, meaning woman or female. Centric, from the Greek kentrikos, meaning pertaining to a center, which itself is derived from kentron, meaning center or sharp point. Together these components signify centered on women. The word likely emerged in English during the 19th or early 20th century, as Western intellectuals increasingly discussed gender roles, feminism, and societal organization. The suffix centric had already been established in academic discourse to describe systems or frameworks that prioritize specific groups or perspectives like ethnocentric or androcentric. In its earliest uses, gynocentric described societies, systems, or narratives that centered on women or femininity. Anthropologists and sociologists occasionally use the term to describe matrifocal or matrilineal societies, where women held central roles in kinship, inheritance, or cultural leadership. During the 20th century, as feminist theories evolved, gynocentric began to take on a more intentional meaning, often used to advocate for recentering societal focus on women's experiences and needs as a corrective to patriarchal systems. This usage aligns with early feminist movements that sought to address the systemic marginalization of women. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, particularly within certain men's rights and anti-feminist discourses, the term gained a more critical or pejorative usage. Here, gynocentric is used to argue that contemporary societies or policies disproportionately favor women, often to the perceived detriment of men. This interpretation contrasts with the feminist usage, which views gynocentrism as a necessary recalibration rather than an imbalance. Today, gynocentric is used in various contexts, often reflecting the ideological lens of the speaker or writer. In feminist theory, the term prioritizes women's perspectives, especially in literature, art, and cultural critique. In cultural critique, the term is an analytical tool to examine societal shifts or traditions that might prioritize women, like the celebration of motherhood in some cultures. In anti-feminist rhetoric, the term is a critique of feminism or gender-focused policies, often suggesting they overly privilege women. Here are some characteristic features of a gynocentric society. Matrifocal family structures. Families are centered around mothers or maternal figures, with inheritance, property rights, or lineage traced through women. Female-dominated leadership. Women hold the majority of leadership roles in governance, religion, or community organization. Celebration of femininity. Cultural norms and symbols predominantly celebrate femininity, motherhood, and traditionally feminine attributes. Gender-specific resource allocation. Policies or practices prioritize women in access to healthcare, education, or social welfare. Male roles as auxiliary. Men's roles are often seen as supportive of women's primary roles in family or society. Media and cultural narratives. Literature, art, and media disproportionately highlight women's experiences, achievements, or struggles. Legal protections. Favoring women. Laws are explicitly designed to protect women or prioritize their needs, even at the expense of gender neutrality. Economic focus on female empowerment. Economic systems favor women-dominated industries or incentivize policies for female employment and entrepreneurship. Social norms. Centered on female preferences, social etiquette and norms revolve around women's preferences and comfort, often placing the burden of adjustment on men. Educational systems. Focused on women education systems disproportionately cater to or favor girls and women, often as a reaction to historical inequities. Here are some indications of a gynocentric society. Inheritance through matrilineal lines. Property and titles are passed through daughters, as seen in matrilineal societies like the Minangkabau in Indonesia. Matrifocal family units. Family systems like those in the Mosuo of China, where women are the central authority in households. Cultural festivals. Honoring women. Festivals like Mother's Day, widely celebrated in modern societies, elevate women's roles, especially in family and caregiving. Laws favoring maternal custody. Legal systems where custody of children is predominantly awarded to mothers, as observed in many contemporary family courts. Gender-specific healthcare programs. Initiatives like maternal health programs that prioritize resources for women over general healthcare needs. Affirmative action for women. Employment or education quotas specifically designed for women, as seen in some Scandinavian countries. Representation of women in leadership societies where the majority of political or corporate leaders are women, such as Rwanda, which boasts one of the highest percentages of women in parliament globally. Cultural reverence for motherhood, societal values that place motherhood above other roles, often relegating fatherhood to a secondary position. Economic policies for women. Entrepreneurs, microloan systems such as those initiated by the Grameen Bank primarily target women to uplift communities. Gendered language etiquette. Social norms that prioritize addressing women's needs in language and behavior, such as the widespread adoption of gender-neutral language to avoid excluding women. To conclude, the term gynocentric has evolved from its neutral etymological roots, indicating a focus on women, to encompass a range of meanings that reflect broader societal debates about gender, power, and equity. Its semantic development mirrors shifting cultural attitudes toward gender relations from historical matrifocal societies to contemporary gender discourse. So what do you think? How does the historical context of women's roles and societal power dynamics influence our understanding of a potentially gynocentric society? Are there specific cultures or historical periods where you believe a gynocentric dynamic was more prevalent? If so, what were the key factors contributing to this? In contemporary society, do you see any examples of gynocentric tendencies or biases, particularly in areas like media, law, or education? How do traditional gender roles and expectations, both male and female, contribute to or challenge the concept of a gynocentric society? What are the potential consequences, both positive and negative, of a society that is primarily focused on female perspectives and experiences? Thank you for watching. If you have found this video rewarding, please leave your comment below, like it, and subscribe. Is there a topic you would like us to address? Don't hesitate to let us know.